for the February 13th, 2025 meeting. We'll call to order. Appreciate everybody coming down. And before we get started, make sure you silent your phone. We really appreciate it. And then this is probably out of order. The counselor will get on to me, but happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Tomorrow, I think I have everything for my sweet daughter and wife. So there you go. Hope you do too. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. All right, so next item up on the agenda is item B, which is the adoption of the agenda. And commissioners, this was sent out to you earlier. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda? There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Commissioner Dundon, was that a yes vote? Just to be clear, yeah, yes. Okay. All right, let's do it one more time. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the agenda is adopted. Next is item C, which is the approval of the January 9th, 2025 minutes, and those were sent out to you commissioners as well. And so I hope y'all look through that. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes? There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the minutes are adopted. Next is item D, which is the recognition of the council members, and we try to take you guys, y'all, when we see you. And so I saw Councilman Cash very first thing when I walked in. So Councilman, welcome. Appreciate you coming down. Oh, it's off. We'll get a staff member to. The speakers, the microphones are very sensitive, so try not to do a double push. There we go. All right. But you kind of.
All right, thank you. Appreciating you letting me, I do have something else tonight, so I appreciate you letting me speak. I'm here about a project on 12th Avenue South, and while I know that there's been a lot of good work on it, both some community engagement, definitely a lot of working with planning staff and working with a neighbor that's next door to it. It's not where I want it yet. Especially in terms of community discussion. I think the work with the neighbor in a residential home behind the property or beside the property, depending on how you're looking at it, has been positive, and the neighbor had some definite concerns, and I think a lot of those concerns have been worked out. There's still one about where at this point there's a stairwell on the back side coming off the second floor, and I think there's a concern about that, and kind of a desire to have it moved so that the exiting from the building isn't and maybe staff going out isn't happening like right behind or right next door to him or right between the two properties. This is 12 South. The last time I was here was about a development in 12 South that I felt worked out really well. And in no small part because there was some parking involved. And so I have 12 South is a growing part of my district and has seen a lot of commercial growth along this corridor. And I have some folks, a good number of folks that are kind of worn out with the growth. Now that doesn't mean that we all know that things are going to change, and I like having opportunities to work with developers and applicants, and value that in this instance too. But there are parking concerns. There was a restaurant that opened. I'm not going to name it, but there was a restaurant that opened out here. It's a great restaurant, but the cars have overwhelmed the side streets nearby, and this is like a block down from this. So I have some concerns about parking and how, valet is going to be done, and I'm working with NDOT on kind of a comprehensive, like residential permit parking is, I guess, the way to put it, plan for the area rather than just kind of doing one street at a time. I'm working on that. We sent out a survey to people in 12 South about parking issues. And I'd like to see a little more light on where that's going. But I think I'll have that time as it goes through council if you approve it. So that's kind of where I am. I appreciate the applicants. They've We've had several community meetings. I wasn't able to be at the one that had the most attendance because it was on a council night. So I really still need to have some engagement with my constituents about it and listen to them and see if there are issues that we can still work out, which I think, which I'm positive about. So I appreciate your consideration. I don't know if there was just a discussion. I don't know if it's going to be on consent, if there's an agreement about the stairwell thing, but.
Thank you, Councilman. And this is, just to be clear, item number 8.
Yes,
and so, Lisa, is there an update?
Yes, prior to the meeting and now, there was some communications between an attorney representing the neighbor and the applicant has agreed to shift that stairwell that's currently located on the back of the building to the side. And so we can read that in as an additional condition on the, if this item remains on the consent. So we are happy to add that back as a condition.
Thank you, Lisa. And Councilman, we'll add that to as part of the condition since the attorney agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate it. Good to see you. Next, I saw Councilman Benton. Come on up. Welcome. Oh, we need to get your microphone on. Hold on one second. There we go.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you taking the time to hear me speak on this. I think I'm item number 30, maybe the last on the list. I'm David Benton, District 28 Councilman, and we've been in communication with the developer for a few months now, and they've been very accommodating and working with us and the community. And I put forth some ideas and concerns that I knew my people were going to have immediately, and they went to work on that. And then we had a meeting, a community meeting on January 7th. At that time, everyone had an opportunity to speak and express themselves, and we had a robust conversation, and with a very diverse group of the community, which is primarily residents nearby. And we're talking about Franklin Limestone Road, and I'm sure you're familiar. It's a long, windy road, fairly narrow, and it turns out that was the biggest concern that we spoke about. It wasn't so much the project, it was the roadway. And, I've been in talks with NDOT recently. We actually have that on the list for paving. In fact, we're a little tardy on it, and that's coming. And I think the weather probably caught us on this one because it turned pretty cold. So it's actually on the hot list for paving right now. That's going to help with that, but that's not the whole story. I think we got work to do on that particular one, and that'll be work with NDOT, kind of a separate issue. Didn't have a lot of pushback at all for the project itself. I think everybody appreciates the jobs and opportunities that brings the community. And I'm on sort of have a hybrid community. I have a lot of industrial, and I also have, commercial. And I also have a huge community where, we have the bedroom community and we all go in to work. This is at a transitional spot, but it's basically Vulcan Materials. So there's a lot going on there already. This is actually going to carve out a piece of that. And then we're going from AR2A to IR. And so it's a proper fit for the area. In fact, it fits in with our district impact policy. So I think it's the right fit. I think it's the right project for that area. We definitely want to work for safety purposes on Franklin Limestone. It's at the opposite end of Franklin Limestone toward Antioch Pike, where we're already right there at Vulcan Materials. And we also have Jones Brothers across the street. We have Waste Management. It's a very short road to the end to Antioch Pike. We also have a commitment for right turn only coming out of that, which helps keep that traffic from going back into my residential area. That was one of those concessions that we were able to get from our developer, which we really appreciate that cooperation. They're working with us, and that's the most important thing is, I don't like being bullied around, and I try to protect my people and our it was limited areas to work with. And it's really important to me. I act like it's going to be next to me when I'm doing these things and looking at them and considering for my community. Listen to everybody. My opinion is I'm for this. I'm comfortable with it. I think it's a good thing for the community. And we're still open and listening. But as far as I'm concerned, I
Thank you, Councilman.
got thumbs up on it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate you coming down.
Appreciate it.
Ma'am? No, we'll have to wait. It's not the public piece. Okay, so that's item number 30. Is that what you're interested in? Okay, we'll get to it. Next, I have Councilor Johnson. Would you like to speak, or?
I'll wait.
And you're here for item number 5. Okay, thank you, Council Lady. Good to see you. All right, I didn't see, do we have any other council members? I see a lot of former council members, but not any other current. All right, I want to make sure. All right, good deal. Next is item E, which is items for deferral or withdrawal. Go ahead.
Thank you. Our items for deferral or withdrawal tonight, starting with on page 4 of your agenda. Item number 6, 2024 SP 049001, 5642 Valley View SP. Staff's recommendation is to defer to the February 27th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. Item number 7, 2024 SP 055001, Veritas Corner SP. Staff recommendation to defer to the February 27th Planning Commission meeting. On page 5 of your agenda, item number 9, 2024 SP 060001, 1609 4th Avenue North. Staff recommendation is to defer to the March 13th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. Item number 11, 2025 SP 007001, 13905 Old Hickory Boulevard. Staff recommendation is to defer to the February 27th meeting. Item number 12, 2022 S 220001, 3862 Hudson Avenue. Staff recommendation is to defer to the February 27th meeting. On page 6 of your agenda, item number 14, 2024 S 115001, Monroe Park Phase 1. Staff recommendation is to defer to the February 27th meeting. Item number 15, 2024 S 139001, Schuler Clarksville Highway. Staff recommendation is to defer to the February 27th meeting. Item number 16, 2024 DTC 014002, 600 4th Avenue South. Staff recommendation is to withdraw. Item number 17, 2024 Z069PR001. Staff recommendation is to defer to the February 27th meeting. On page 7 of your agenda, item number 18, 2025 Z005PR001. Staff recommendation is to defer to the April 10th Planning Commission meeting. Item number 20, 2024 SP051001, Nashville Event Center. Staff recommendation is to defer to the February 27th meeting. Item number 21, 2025 SP005001, Martin and Merritt. Staff recommendation is to defer to the February 27th meeting. Item number 22, 2025 SP006001, Briarwood Townhome SP. Staff recommendation is to defer to the February 27th meeting. On page 8 of your agenda, item number 23, 2025 SP009001, 1004 and 1104 Cass Street. Staff recommendation is to defer to the February 27th meeting. Item number 24, 2025 SP011001, 600 McFerrin Avenue. Staff recommendation is to defer to the February 27th meeting. Item number 25, 2025 Z002PR001. Staff recommendation is to defer to the February 27th meeting. And that concludes our deferral or withdrawal.
Thank you, Maddie. And so, Commissioners, these are the items for deferral or withdrawal, and that's items 6, 7, 9, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, Commissioners, you've heard the items for deferral withdrawal. Is there a motion? So motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and those items are deferred. And so that takes us to item F, which is the consent agenda. And just from a procedural standpoint, if you're in opposition to any of these items, when we read these out, we'll ask. And so that's when you tell us if you're in opposition. All right, go ahead, Manny.
Okay. For tentative consent items, they will be read aloud at the beginning of the meeting to determine if there is opposition present. If there is opposition present, the items will be heard by the Planning Commission in the order in which they are listed on the agenda. If no opposition is present, the item will be placed on the consent agenda. As a notice to the public, items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda. So starting on page 3 of your agenda, item number 1, 2024 CP 004002. This is the Madison Community Plan Amendment. Is there anyone here in opposition of this item? This item will be placed on the consent agenda. On page 4 of your agenda, item number 3, 2022 SP 030003 at 930 McFerrin Ave Amendment. Is there anyone here in opposition of this item? This item will be placed on the consent agenda. Item number 4, 2023 SP 086001 The Collective. Is there anyone here in opposition of this item? This item will be placed on the consent agenda. Item number 5, 2024 SP 039001 Brentwood Chase 3. Is there anyone here in opposition of this item? Okay, this item will be placed on the agenda to be heard. On page 5 of your agenda, item number 8, 2024 SP 057001 2908 12th Ave South. Is there anyone here in opposition of this item? This item will be placed on the consent agenda. Item number 10, 2025 SP 002001 Walton Park. Is there anyone here in opposition of this item? This item will be placed on the consent agenda. On page 6 of your agenda, item number 13, 2023 S197001 Vaughn Subdivision. Is there anyone here in opposition of this item? This item will be placed on the consent agenda. On page 7 of your agenda, item number 19, 2023 SP 055001 Council Bill 2024-624 Pennington Bend SP. Is there anyone here in opposition of this item? This item will be placed on the consent agenda. On page 8 of your agenda, item number 26, 2025 Z004 PR001. Is there anyone here in opposition of this item? This item will be placed on the consent agenda. Item number 27, 2025 Z010 PR001. Is there anyone here in opposition of this item? This item will be placed on the consent agenda. On page 9 of your agenda, item number 28, 2025 Z011 PR001. Is there anyone here in opposition of this item? This item will be placed on the consent agenda. Item number 29, 2025 Z012 PR001. Is there anyone here in opposition of this item? This item will be placed on the consent agenda. And item number 30, 2025 Z013 PR001. Is there anyone here in opposition of this item?
I would like to know more information before.
Ma'am,
I would like to know more information.
you need more information. We'll have a staff member come talk to you real quick. Oh, we had another person raise. In opposition, sir? Okay,
Okay, this
We got
item will be placed on the agenda to be heard.
we got it.
These two. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I will now read through the items on our consent agenda with their full captions as legal information. As information for our audience, if you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Planning Commission today, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of cert with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of entry of the Planning Commission's decision. To ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met, please be advised that you should contact independent legal counsel. Starting on page 3 of your agenda, item number 1, 2024 CP 004002 Madison Community Plan Amendment. This is a request to amend the Madison Community Plan by changing community character policy from rural neighborhood center to rural maintenance with conservation policy to remain for properties located along Neely's Bend Road and Hudson Road. Staff recommendation is to approve. On page 4 of your agenda, item number 3, 2022 SP 030003, 930 McFerrin Avenue Amendment. This is a request to amend specific plan and rezone from RS5 to SP on properties located at 905 West Eastland Avenue and McFerrin Avenue. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. Item number 4, 2023 SP 086001, The Collective. This is a request to rezone from R10 to SP zoning for properties located at 244 and 252 Liberty Lane to permit 51 multifamily residential units. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions, including the conditions provided in the memo for you today, and disapprove without all conditions. On page 5 of your agenda, item number 8, 2024 SP 057001, 2908 12th Ave South. This is a request to rezone from CS to SP zoning for property located at 2908 12th Ave South to permit non-residential uses. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions, with the additional condition to shift the stairwell to the side, and disapprove without all conditions. Item number 10, 2025 SP 002001, Walton Park. This is a request to rezone from RS10 to SP zoning for properties located at 3304, 3306, 3308, 3312 Walton Lane to permit 78 multifamily residential units. Staff's recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. On page 6 of your agenda, item number 13, 2023 S197001, Vaughn Subdivision. This is a request for final plat approval to create 2 lots on properties located at 100 MacArthur Drive and 114 Teresa Drive, zoned R15 and RS15. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions, including an exception to section 3-5.2. On page 7 of your agenda, item number 19, 2023 SP 055001, Council Bill 2024-624, Pennington Bend SP. This is a request to rezone from R15 to SP zoning for property located at Pennington Bend Road to permit 39 multifamily residential units. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. On page 8 of your agenda, item number 26, 2025 Z004PR001. This is a request to rezone from IWD to MUNA zoning for properties located at 183 Little Green Street. Staff's recommendation is to approve. Item number 27, 2025 Z010PR001. This is a request to rezone from RS10 to R10 for properties located at 3101 Hillside Road. Staff's recommendation is to approve. On page 9 of your agenda, item number 28, 2025 Z011PR. This is a request to rezone from RS5 to R6A zoning for property located at 314 Edith Avenue. Staff recommendation is to approve. Item number 29, 2025 Z012PR001. This is a request to rezone from R20 to IWD zoning for properties located at 2475 Couchville Pike and 1617 Reynolds Road. Staff's recommendation is to approve. And under letter H, other business, item number 31, new employee contracts for Anna Luvera and Ellie Richards, and item number 35, to accept the director's report and approve administrative items. And that concludes that.
Thank you, Maddie. Good job. Is that your first time doing that? No, second time. Okay. Good job. We were timing it, how long it would take. No, we were not. All right, Commissioners. So Maddie went over the consent items and make sure that I get these right. These are the following consent items to be approved. And it is items number 1, 3, 4, 8, 10, 13, 19, 26, 27, 28, 29, 31, and 35. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, Commissioners, you've heard the items to pass on the consent agenda. Is there a motion? A motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the consent agenda is adopted. So that leaves us with 3 items to consider in public hearing tonight, and that's items number 2, 5, and 30. And so we'll give everybody just a minute to exit the room, and if item number 2, we'll do the presentation by Jared. All right. All right, Jared, are you ready? I'm ready when you're ready. Oh, the computer, okay. Oh, there's that.
All right. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Jared Islis, and I will be presenting item number 2, case number 2023Z003TX001, which is a proposed text amendment to the downtown code requested by the Metro Planning Department. Please note that this item will be automatically deferred to the March 13th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting per MPC rules and procedures following today's public hearing. This is a request to amend section 1737 of the Metro Code of Laws to update the downtown code's bonus height program, BHP, and outdoor space standards, and several minor housekeeping amendments. Staff's recommendation is to approve. The contents of this proposal are broken into 3 parts. First, updates to the downtown code's bonus height program to better align it with the current and future priorities of downtown. We're also proposing updates to the downtown code's outdoor space general standards to enable a vibrant, functional, and resilient downtown public realm. Lastly, we're proposing several minor housekeeping updates throughout the DTC, which I'll describe on a later slide. Due to the possibility of this amendment having an impact on development proposals already in the works, we're proposing a transition period to accompany it. The transition is outlined here on our website and in the staff report. In short, following the council bill's effective date, property owners will have 1 year to use either the existing BHP or the proposed BHP. At points in this presentation, I may refer to the existing BHP as the 2010 BHP and the proposal in front of you today as the 2025 BHP. So let's start with a bit of background on the project. Prior to the adoption of the downtown code, about 60% of downtown land was occupied by surface parking lots in single-story buildings. The DTC was created as a tool to facilitate building and investing in downtown Nashville and thus create more homes, jobs, and places to visit for Nashvillians and visitors. The DTC was adopted by Metro Council in 2010, and the form-based code organized downtown into sub-districts with their own unique bulk standards and entitlements. The DTC includes the bonus height program, which is an optional bonus density program that allows developers to incorporate certain public benefits into their proposal from a menu of options. The BHP allows sites within the downtown code to exceed their maximum heights up to another threshold, which is referred to as a bonus height maximum. Projects that wish to exceed their bonus height maximum must seek an overall height modification, or OHM, which is a separate procedure which must be approved by this body. Bonus height is not finalized until a bonus height certification memo is approved administratively by the Planning Commission. When present, these bonus height certification memos are included under the other business section of your agenda, so they're not often presented to you in this manner. OHMs and the administrative approvals of BHP memos are generally the only interactions this body will have with projects in the downtown code. Project approvals are administered by staff after review by either the downtown code or MDHA design review committees. So these are the 9 bonus options that exist as part of the 2010 BHP, the current bonus height program. Each bonus option includes specific guidance and regulations that a developer must abide by to earn bonus height. Each option awards a different amount of bonus height depending on the size or amount of that benefit provided by the developer. Since the DTC and the BHP were first adopted in 2010, a lot has changed in downtown Nashville. The level of growth and development, spurred in part by the downtown code zoning district, has led downtown to become the desirable place to live, work, and play that we all know today. Updating the bonus height program's incentives and public benefits to reflect this downtown is a main reason for this work. Almost 2 years ago, in March 2023, we shared BHP data points with the Planning Commission at a work session. These patterns and trends also provided evidence for updating the program. I'll refresh some of those today. So to date, 41 projects have certified their bonus height. This is, again, the last step of the process. We estimate that there are another 15 or more projects in various stages of approvals that have yet to certify bonus height, but are planning to do so. The bar chart on the right side of your screen shows the number of bonus height program projects that have utilized each bonus option. 25 of the 41 projects that have certified bonus height have used the underground parking bonus, 15 have used the garage liner and public parking bonuses each, and fewer than 5 have used historic preservation, civil support space, or open space bonuses. Looking at it another way, almost 90% of the total bonus height earned to date has come from the 3 parking-related bonus options. This data is notable for a few reasons. First, the downtown code does not require vehicular parking, and many of our guiding policy documents encourage limiting the amount of parking provided. Now, while the BHP does not inherently incentivize parking, the incentives of the program offered do make it easier for downtown developers to justify providing high quantities of parking within their projects. Second, for every project that earns bonus height from a parking-related bonus option, use of other bonus options, which may promote high priority benefits, go unused. This bar chart shows the results from a survey we did in April 2023, right after we had the work session with the Planning Commission. The survey asked people to tell us what development in downtown should prioritize. You'll notice that the highest scoring priorities are not incentivized by the BHP today, or are not used as much as some of the other bonus options available. You'll also notice that Homes for All Nashvillians is the top priority on the list, but that it is not included as a bonus option within this current proposal. This is due to affordable housing incentives being previously prohibited by state law up until last summer, when the Tennessee General Assembly authorized local jurisdictions to create voluntary attainable housing incentive programs. At that time, planning staff determined that this in-process amendment that we're talking about today should advance as a phase 1 update to the downtown code's incentive offerings. And that at the conclusion of broader departmental work regarding countywide attainable housing incentives, the BHP should be amended once again to include these incentives as a phase 2 update. The department's housing and design studio teams will begin working on this phase 2 work early this year. Since originally adopted in 2010, there have been many updates to the downtown code. In just the last year, a portion of the East Bank was rezoned to DTC, and staff created a set of design guidelines for DTC projects. We also completed a downtown market study with consultants HR&A Advisors and Gensler that provided objective, data-driven recommendations for the subsequent draft of the BHP amendment. The amendments proposed today related to the bonus height program and outdoor spaces are components of the downtown code that we are looking to accomplish to help propel the DTC into its next iteration. As a note, the public process associated with this amendment has been similar in length of time and reach to that of the original downtown code's creation back in 2008 and 2009. Zooming in, you can see that our public process began in early 2023 with the work session with the Planning Commission. At that work session, commissioners directed staff to further explore updates to the BHP that would align incentives with present-day priorities and to reflect the goals outlined in Nashville Next and the Downtown Community Plan. In May of 2023, we published a first draft of the proposed amendment to the bonus height program. This draft included both refreshed and new bonus options that better aligned with our current and future priorities. However, a common point of feedback on this draft was the development community's concern regarding how the bonus height program amendment would impact current and future market conditions. To understand these concerns, planning staff worked with external stakeholders, including the Nashville Downtown Partnership and members of the development community in the summer and fall of 2023 to scope a market study that would consider how changes to the BHP might impact market conditions and provide recommendations on appropriate multipliers for each of the proposed bonus options. Beginning in January 2024, consultants supported planning staff in this work. Following significant engagement with the members of the development community, the study's executive summary was published online in October of 2024, alongside a second draft of the BHP amendment. Planning staff sought feedback on this second draft from October through early December 2024 before posting a third revised draft in mid-December. Another 30 days of engagement followed that. Now, alongside the publication of this staff report, planning staff has published a final draft of the proposed amendment to the downtown code. So now we're going to look a little bit more at the specifics of the proposal. After the various drafts and engagement rounds that were undertaken, the final draft in front of you today has four main components related to the bonus height program. On the left side of your screen, you will see the proposed baseline requirements. These are requirements that ensure BHP projects advance the goals outlined in the DTC design guidelines document that we adopted last year. These requirements must be fulfilled by new development that uses the bonus height program and that are over 50,000 gross square feet in size before they can use other bonus options. And for the fulfillment of these requirements, a 2-story bonus will be awarded. The baseline requirements are designed in a way that allows them to respond to the proposal. However, in addition to this built-in flexibility, we have outlined a process for design review committees to consider and approve modifications to these requirements. On the right side of your screen, you will see the proposed menu of bonus options, 5 of which are refreshed and enhanced versions of bonuses that exist under the 2010 BHP. These bonuses become available to a developer after the baseline requirements are fulfilled. Fulfillment of any one bonus option yields an amount of bonus height that, as described by that option's bonus height calculation methodology. The incentives awarded for each bonus option balances public priority, planning best practices and policies, and project feasibility. Based on recommendations from the downtown market study, each bonus option features a bonus height calculation that blends these ideas together, along with the extent or scale to which that public benefit is provided within the development. The incentives are designed so that certain bonus options, such as preservation and privately owned public spaces, or what we refer to as POPs, receive higher incentives, whereas underground parking receives lower incentives. From the beginning of the process to update the BHP, our team has prioritized making the preservation bonus more valuable to downtown developers and more valuable across a wider variety of sites. Working with Metro Historic staff, this process has allowed us to make significant advancements as part of the refreshed preservation bonus option. The items on the left side of your screen are proposed as part of the final draft of the BHP amendment and would apply to historic assets, which we define in the code amendment as structures or sites listed on the National Register of Historic Places or designated as a National Historic Landmark. None of these standards exist today and therefore represent an effort to disincentivize demolition of historic assets and increase the likelihood of historic assets becoming protected. The items on the right side of your screen are based on recommendations from the downtown market study and implemented after research and analysis by staff. In addition to simply increasing the amount of bonus height available for preservation, which is that first bullet point, staff has integrated positive trade-offs into this bonus option so that applicants and developers will be more enticed to utilize the preservation bonus, knowing that there will be additional benefits for their projects. Another component of the amendment is based on a recommendation from the market study to increase bonus height maximums in the Gulch South and Lafayette subdistrict. The proposed change sees both subdistricts' general bonus height maximums be increased from mid-rise building height to high-rise building height. Staff is also proposing to increase the bonus height maximums for sites on major corridor frontages and at key intersections in both subdistricts. Several minor housekeeping amendments related to the downtown code's modification and application processes are also included in this proposal. These updates are meant to clarify and make processes consistent with departmental policies and state vesting laws. The other update is to the general standards section of the downtown code where electric vehicle standards have been adopted. These standards are modeled off electric vehicle standards have been added, not adopted. These standards are modeled off industry best practices and only apply to developments proposing to include EV charging spaces. And that relates directly to the one of the bonus height program baseline requirements. Lastly, the downtown code's outdoor space general standards updates are centered around the intent to enable a vibrant and functional public realm. Like the bonus height program, the downtown code's current outdoor space standards were first approved as part of the original legislation back in 2010 and have not seen much of an update since. The proposed amendment to the outdoor space standards revises them to meet downtown's current and future open space needs, expand the selection of outdoor space types in their guidance, and define and clarify a POPS, again, a privately owned public space, versus a private outdoor area. This work is aligned with the proposed updates to the BHP and specifically the POPS bonus option. So the proposal in front of you today is the fourth draft of these updates that we have publicized and received feedback on. Each prior draft was followed by significant stakeholder engagement and revisions. Staff has worked closely with the design and development communities to ensure the amendment is buildable and feasible. Throughout these rounds of engagement, there have been several instances where we've heard from the development community that certain things should be incentivized differently than what had been proposed. Staff has flexed on these items where we think we could without dissolving the primary intent of the program, which is to provide bonus height in exchange for the contribution to the specified programs that provide public benefits and advance the quality of urban design in downtown Nashville. Lastly, I just wanted to remind you and members of the audience about the transition period associated with this proposal to provide flexibility to property owners that may already have projects in the works. Using the 2010 BHP, this proposed amendment to the DTC, including updates to the bonus height program, will be implemented over a 12-month transition period, beginning on the council bill's eventual effective date. As mentioned at the start of this presentation, this is the first of 2 Planning Commission meetings where this item will be considered. Following today's public hearing, the commission will be asked to vote to defer the item to the March 13th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. And at that meeting in March, the commission will discuss the item and make a recommendation to Metro Council. It is anticipated that this bill will be filed with the council office on track for the May 6th, 2025 council public hearing, and after passing 3 readings at council, the text amendment would become effective. The earliest this could happen would be June 3rd, 2025. At this point, the 12-month transition period would begin. Developers would have 6 months through early December of this year to receive concept plan approval using the 2010 BHP menu, and 12 months through early June 2026 to receive bonus height certification using the 2010 BHP menu. During that 12-month period, developers are welcome to use the 2025 menu, but they would not be required to do so until the 12 months has come to conclusion. And that wraps up my presentation. Again, this is a request to amend section 1737 of the Metro Code to update the downtown code, and staff's recommendation is to approve.
Thank you, Jared. And so, commissioners, and also for the audience, some of you have been down here many times before, some of you are new, and so the way that this works is we do the presentation, we open the public hearing, and that's where the applicant will have 10 minutes to speak. We'll do a 2-minute rebuttal. On this particular case, we're the applicant in this, so we won't do the 10 minutes, it's really the presentation. And then they can save 2 minutes for rebuttal on the next cases. And then we do everybody that wants to wish to speak in support first, and then anyone wishing to speak in opposition we do next. And then we do, the applicant will have a rebuttal. And then after the rebuttal, we always let the council member speak last. And then after the council member speaks, we'll declare the public hearing closed. And then that's where we will talk about it. And so on this issue, remember, commissioners, we've changed our rules on text amendments that we'll close the public hearing after we discuss it. After we close the public hearing, we discuss it, we'll defer it 2 meetings, as Jared said. So, perfect. Everybody okay with the process? All right. So since I declare the public hearing open, and so we're the applicant, and so we'll have anyone wishing to speak in support. Come on up. Come on up. And please state your name and generally where you're from. We don't do addresses anymore, so for safety reasons. Thank you. Welcome. Oh, there we go.
There we go. Hi, good evening, Chair and Commissioners. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for NAIOP Nashville, which is the Commercial Real Estate Development Association. Sorry, my name is Rachel Blackhurst. Did I say that? First, I really want to express our sincerest gratitude to Joni Williams and the team at Planning for spending nearly 2 years working with NAIOP and our membership on how to make this update to the bonus height program really work for the community at large and the development community, especially in the moments when our feedback was quite blunt. So thank you so much. We are really particularly grateful to Planning for responding to our input on the parking element of this proposal and for being open to the specific concerns for office and commercial spaces. We're here in support, but I would like to respectfully request, as this program grows into effect, if things aren't working, if folks aren't able to get enough floors, that we can keep responding to this feedback. But overall, we're really grateful for all the work that was done. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in support? Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? All right, seeing no opposition, no one else wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. And I do want to say this, is that I want to really thank Joni and the staff. They've done a tremendous job. It's been a lot of public input, a lot of community outreach. And, it always makes me feel comfortable when we do that and we get as much input. And I know we as a commission, we really, really strive to have some of the best community outreach out there. And so I just want to thank the staff for working hard on that and working with folks out there. And I also want to say that I've talked to the team, and if something, and I think this is true most of the time for us as a commission, if something's not working, let us know. If we think there's issues with it, we always are willing to talk to everyone. Community members, developers, we try to talk to everybody and get everybody's input. So I appreciate that comment. We want you to know that we're listening, and we we'll talk about that if something's not. And I know the staff, so I assure you that we will be doing that. So, Vice Chair, do you want to lead us?
So right now, we're just asking questions, right? We're not actually debating anything. Is that right?
Lisa, go ahead.
That's right. Part of the new text amendment process that we set up was to give you all the opportunity to hear from staff, hear from the community, and then be able to ask questions so that if there are changes that are needed, that we can do that within that time frame before it comes back to you all, so that we're not sort of on the fly trying to make changes to what can be complicated legislation. So yes, questions, discussion, all welcome at this
Okay.
point.
And
No
opinions, so
position.
if, yeah, and your position, that we can do that.
Okay. Well, I think this is great. I think just looking back at the, history of how the incentives have been used is really informative. I think you can tell as you drive through downtown and you see a lot of parking liners, that's definitely been popular. And I'm glad to see that we're pushing towards other, encouraging other kinds of public benefit. I wanted to just clarify, as I've read the staff report, the discussion around attainable housing and where that's going to fit in. I understand that sounds like that's the phase 2 of what's coming, but can we talk about that a little bit and understand what more is in that?
Jared?
Yeah, our staff, design studio staff, is working with the housing division right now to work on a future update to the bonus height program that would incorporate an amendment that would include an attainable housing incentive. That work, my understanding, is set to begin this year, the next few months, and be brought forward as a second amendment.
And as we look at the, I guess we don't know yet, but it will be ranked as either a high, medium, or low priority or incentive?
Yeah, as part of that work, they will flesh out, like we did with these bonus options, the calculation methodology that says, here's how we rank, the public priority, the planning best practices, and the developer needs, and kind of the feasibility of it. And that'll spit out a calibration, just like all these other bonuses. I would not be surprised if it's fairly high up there compared to the other bonuses on the table. Okay. But I think that's all research that's still kind of in process and in flux right now.
Okay. Well, we have some kind of a tool on our website for developers so they could plug in this stuff and figure out
Yeah, we've thought of that. Been messing around in Excel to trying to get that to work. But yeah, that would be really cool and helpful for developers and staff too, to be able to have kind of a consistent way to track all of this information and have it calculated automatically.
It'd be interesting too, just to sort of, so you could see I guess compare different options, the kind of your own cost benefit of what's gonna. I think this seems great. I want to read through the menu of public benefits a little more closely, but I think overall I'm glad to see this progress and very impressed with the extent of the outreach that's been done through the downtown community. That's great. And, clearly, as the chair said, you guys have been very responsive to stakeholder interests, so I appreciate that work very much.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other discussion? Yeah. Commissioner Smith.
I'll second that. It seemed like a lot of time and work went into this, so thank you. Overall, I'm going to be very supportive of this. Curious how buildings in the National Register doesn't seem like it really applies to. Is that correct?
Can you say that again?
Buildings in the National Register, the historic, that this doesn't really apply to. Is that more or less correct?
So there's bonuses that you can earn from preserving a building that's on the National Register of Historic Places, but this tool is not meant to provide bonus height to those buildings on the National Register. Correct?
What about those in the historic overlay?
That would depend on if the zoning allows for it, and they could, if it allows for bonus height to be applied on that site, they could use historic preservation or another bonus to earn bonus height and apply that on that site. I can't, or, yeah.
Okay, I'm scared of the microphone system. I think the question you are maybe asking, Commissioner, if I can ask it back to you, make sure I'm understanding your question. We have, there are two types of ways that properties can be designated as capital H historic. That can be that they're listed on the National Register, they're a national landmark, or they can be in a local zoning overlay. Those are two very different tools for preservation. And we have calibrated the bonus height program to acknowledge both of those circumstances. So for instance, and I'll add a third category, which we're calling cultural resources, which are properties that may be valuable to us from an architectural standpoint or from a cultural standpoint, but have not yet been added to a local zoning overlay that ensures their protection, nor have they been put on the National Register for the honor of being on the National Register. And so we hope that by incentivizing the preservation of those unprotected resources, cultural or National Register, that then we're moving them into a similar safety of a zoning overlay, but that's done via the transfer of development rights, essentially. So the properties that are within historic zoning overlays do have local protection, and so we allow those to function through the protection of their existing zoning. Throughout downtown, there are many properties that we could all point to that we love and value as part of the cultural fabric that have no protection today. And we want to incentivize those being preserved by allowing a property owner to glean those entitlements off of them and build them elsewhere within downtown. Does that
Gotcha.
help?
Yes, that I think answers most of it. And I know National Register has very specific rules, so I'm not really concerned about that. I guess my question is a lot of I'm not sure it's really a question or an answerable question. In the historic overlay that Nashville has put on, a lot of that is contextual.
Right.
And I was just wondering how a bonus height program would operate, what rights that would give if that would supersede a contextual determination by, say, the MHZC.
So the Lower Broadway and 2nd Avenue are in a zoning overlay for our purposes that does not have bonus. It's not eligible for bonus to be used in those locations.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions, Commissioner? Yeah, Commissioner Dundon.
Thanks. I agree, this seems like a great proposal, and I think I agree with my fellow commissioners' comments. I specifically have just a couple questions about the original 2010 policy. Is it just coincidence that was the year of the big flood, or did the flooding play into the development of that original 2010 plan? And then sort of the related question is, stormwater management was on that list from your stakeholder feedback. I think it was maybe number 8 or something. And then you also talked about how open spaces was really not used in the original, under the original plan. So if you could talk a little bit about sort of that topic of stormwater management and how open spaces are connected to that and how those are going to be incentivized in the new plan. We know that, when you invest in infrastructure and big buildings, they last a really long time. So it's important to get those things right as we have to experience, more density and if more frequent storms that are heavier. So if you could just talk a little bit about that, I'd be curious.
Sure. Thank you for allowing us to give that context. The DTC was originally adopted in, I believe, February of 2010, so before the flood of 2010. And it was the culmination of about 2 or 3 years of community engagement following an update to the downtown community plan in 2007. At the time, though, there was a very strong interest in using the LEED certification process to start to introduce more sustainability efforts downtown. And there were two items specifically that were brought forward as so valuable, we wanted to incentivize them separately. One was pervious surfaces. So that can happen on the ground plane in a park or open space, but it could also happen on upper floors. But that would be part or potentially part of the LEED certification process. That was a huge milestone in 2010 to get that sort of shift in perspective for downtown development. And something as simple as having all of the roofing materials be white instead of black has made a very big difference in our downtown urban heat island effect. So since 2010, I'm sure Jared could find the numbers for us of how many projects have utilized LEED bonuses, because at the time it was the development community, I think it was only palatable to be incentivized, where 15 years later, and that just being a more holistic program, people understand its value to the market, and we feel that it can be something that's a baseline condition at this point. The open space categories are often more hardscaped, and so we're hoping a recalibration of public open spaces will allow more of a variety to respond to the emerging kinds of neighborhoods downtown, and be able to use those as both active open spaces, but as efforts towards sustainability and addressing some of those rainwater conditions and heat island effect conditions. Of course.
If I may add one thing, I think I want to make sure that people understand that the new POPs bonus, the privately owned public space bonus, that has kind of the pervious surface and the stormwater infrastructure component baked into that. So if you read the full draft, it talks about how, you know, your bonus height for providing an open space is calculated first off of how much open space you provide in area, but then there's additional multipliers that are added onto that if there's a portion of that that's pervious and contributing to stormwater infrastructure. And there's other multipliers too that, you know, depending on the kind of programming that you put in that open space, or if it's site certified or wedge certified, which are sustainable and resiliency certifications, all of those further up your amount of bonus height that you would earn.
That's super helpful, and you anticipated my second question. So is the open space category now sort of subsumed into the POPs category?
That's right. So
Great.
what was previously known as open space bonus, that is now the POPs bonus. It's kind of the new hip term, so 2025 language. So yeah, POPs term, and we've incorporated those other ones in there as well.
Thank you.
Nobody knew that the planning commission was hip, but we're super hip. All right, everybody knew that. Any other questions from the commissioners? Vice Chair?
I'm just going to restate, listening to you say that again about this is eligible for this plus the multipliers of this, and we definitely should have some kind of a tool, because I think developers are going to just be like, it's just, you know, for transparency and predictability, it's just, it would be nice if they kind of come in knowing what to expect, to the extent we can have the ability to do that.
Right, and I think it leads to better design too, with open spaces, more creative designs in some of the buildings. We've seen some of that, but instead of just a square building with, you know, so I feel like with parking liner, you know, so I think that this will help, and I appreciate the staff taking so much time and being so thoughtful on it. So I really appreciate that. So we'll make sure I get everybody. Any other questions? Well, Vice Chair, we'll need a motion to defer 2 meetings.
I'll make a motion that we defer this until the March 13th.
That's a proper motion. Is there a second? Second. Any other discussion? Seeing none. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. And it's deferred 2 meetings. All right. And Lucy's going to come back up. Okay. Thank you, Lisa. All right. We are on item number 5. And Dustin's going to do the presentation.
All right, Dustin Shane, staff planner. This is item 5, a SP called Brentwood Chase 3. This is a zone change from R40 to SP. Our recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. Existing zoning is 1 and 2 family residential, R40, proposed zoning specific plan. Policies on the site, there's some conservation covering a stream on the northern end. The rest of the site is T3 suburban neighborhood maintenance. This is the site plan for your reference. North is to the left-hand side of the screen, showing a detached multifamily residential product with numerous accesses onto Valley View Road. This is for 71 multifamily units at about 4.7 units an acre. These are detached units. Height is capped at 2 stories and 35 feet by the SP. Parking is provided with a combination of garage parking with some head-in parking for visitors. The units are actually required to have 2-car garages. There's contextual setbacks along Valley View to match the existing pattern of the neighborhood. There are 7 private drives shown with 3 individual driveways into the site, which is something I'll get to in a minute. There is some connectivity shown between the different parts of the site, though. The units mostly front private drives, but the units along Valley View will front that street. And then landscape buffers are shown to the north and west with some of the other neighborhoods. So the policy T3 neighborhood maintenance, looking at some of the goals of the policy, 1 is to maintain the general character of developed suburban neighborhoods. The plan does this through building form using detached units. It does this through matching the setbacks, as I talked about along Valley View. It also does this through limiting height to 2 stories in line with more of the low-slung character of the area. It does not do this, though, through locating 2 of the units across the stream to the north, which results in a layout that doesn't really fit with the logic of the site and looks crowded. Another goal of the policy is contextually appropriate housing provision. So it does this by having smaller units in the rear to add needed housing, similar to some of the other Brentwood Chase SPs to the north. Another policy goal is connectivity. It does this, there's kind of a back road through the site that connects the different parts of it, most of it. And then there's pedestrian infrastructure up along Valley View Road that they're providing. But there are too many curb cuts on the Valley View Road, and this creates conflicts for vehicles and danger for pedestrians. So our conditions in view of that are mainly to remove 4 of the private drive accesses onto Valley View, leaving 1 at the northern end, 1 in the center, and then 1 at the southeast. And then also to remove or relocate those units that are shown across the northern stream. That'll reduce impacts on this sensitive feature and make the site layout work better together. So our recommendation, approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dustin. We'll go ahead and, Commissioners, open this item for public hearing. And is the applicant in the room? Council A, we'll do you last if that's usually our procedure because we save the best for last. We say, that's why Dale's going first. The worst for the first. I'm just kidding. All right.
Worst is the first.
I'm just joking.
So I'm Roy Dale with Dale
Well-
Associates, and I actually represent multiple property owners on this proposal. This is actually, and I'll thank the commission, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We appreciate the council member being here. The staff always does a great job. Again, I'll say that multiple times. It's a great staff that Lucy has assembled here. A young, vibrant, diverse group of people. And they're really good to work with. So actually, I represented 2 prior phases on Valley View Drive. That's why this is called Phase 3. One of the people that wanted to develop their property came to me, and they were sort of midstream, and I'm like, no, we need to make this bigger. I talked to the council member. Through her wisdom, she felt like it was better to have everybody on board on this. So we've more or less taken all of Valley View that backs up to the more dense zoning, and we're just doing this all in one great big project. And it's worked. I think it's worked really, really well. We've had. I know I've attended at least 4 community meetings. These meetings were not contentious meetings. There were actually meetings with the community working together to try to find ways that we could add provisions to this plan to make it a better plan. And some of those were to maintain the character on Valley View. There are deep setbacks on Valley View. Buildings along Valley View have larger massing to duplicate some of the massing that's on the street today. They're limited in height. There's an attempt to preserve a lot of the vegetation along Valley View. So if you go down Valley View now, today, it won't look a lot different, except there'll be a sidewalk. And that sidewalk will extend all the way to Old Hickory Boulevard, which will be great for the residents that live here. So that being said, this has been through a very vigorous process. I think we have a very good plan. We thank the staff for doing their hard work, and we hope that you would follow their lead and recommend approval on this. I'll hold 2 minutes in case I need it. I don't think I probably will. There are a number of residents here. I don't know if they want to speak or not. That'd be up to them, but I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, and we will reserve 2 minutes for rebuttal. Anyone wishing to speak in support? Come on up. Yeah, support. Anyone wishing to speak in support? Come on up and tell us your name and...
Good evening. My name is Jesse Blair. I'm the Dean of Students at Hume Fogg, right down the street. I'm a natural-born Nashvilleian. I've lived here most of my recent life, 20 years actually I've been here. Nearly half of that at 5645 Valley View Road. My wife Lacey and I have raised our 2 incredible children, Crockett and Tennyson there. It is the longest that either of us have ever lived in one place. We love our street, we love our neighbors. And we plan to stay on Valley View regardless of what happens here today. So in the future, I think this proposal will affect us more than anybody else. Over the course of the past 18 months, we've hosted half a dozen meetings, some large, some small, as well as much larger meetings for the surrounding community. For the surrounding community members, to develop and revise plans based on their input. At those meetings, our neighbors shared thoughts and concerns, ideas for our vision of the future of the neighborhood. I believe that what is being proposed has been diligently and thoughtfully created in the best interest of all parties involved. As our area inevitably continues to evolve, we've seen changes from every surrounding side. Our own property and the Stampley property, which is next to us and will most certainly be developed, are in need of work, and those resources will be better put to use for the benefit of the neighborhood as the changes continue. I just want to say we wholeheartedly recommend approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in support? Come on up. Welcome.
Hi, I'm William Hansard. I live at 5655 Valley View Road. We have with us our neighbor, Marlene, as well, who owns the 2 properties between us and the Stampley property. I've been in Nashville for over 40 years. I was a native Tennessean born in Clarksville. I've lived on Valley View for 31 years. And we've wanted sidewalks for a long time. This is a heck of a way to get it. But I want to tell you that the development behind us with the Cali property and everything that's happened, it's time for this property to be zoned SP and to be developed for higher density. And I asked this commission to approve the plan as it's presented, or as you modified it with conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I want to make sure we get everybody. Anybody else want to speak in support? All right, seeing none, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Come on up. Welcome.
Hey guys. My name is Terry Rainey. I live in Cloverland Hall in Brentwood, and I guess the biggest pushback that I want to provide is I know that we cannot stand in the way of progress. Obviously, everything grows at an exorbitant rate. But the pushback is the 4.7 units per acre. I think that density is way overkill. I would think it would need to be 4.0 or less per acre to make it more amenable to everyone. Most of the houses, most of the properties. I've lived there for 10 years on Valley View. And most of the properties are on a quarter of an acre or more. And that's with new construction included that is going on currently. So my biggest concerns would be the traffic flow itself for an additional, roughly, with all of the other construction that's going on, roughly 100 additional houses, 200 additional cars or more on Valley View. And so the traffic flow, Old Hickory and Cloverland are connectors to Valley View. What about traffic lights? What about the traffic flow in general? What about traffic lights for that whole area? Where Church Street meets Cloverland, it's a nightmare already for traffic. And as I said, Valley View is a feeder to Cloverland. So another thing is utilities accounted for, completely accounted for, so that no one suffers from the utilities perspective of the people who are still there today or who are living there today. School capacity, stormwater management is probably the biggest thing. So anyway, those are sidewalks and time frame for starting were the other questions that I had. So I know my time's up.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Welcome.
Hello, my name's John Hood. I live in the neighborhood on Cloverland. Very good. And I'm pro-development. I think I like certain parts of the plan here. I think my biggest problem is with the density and the number of units for this particular piece of property. I got, currently as it sits right now, there's 8 duplex eligible lots there that by right, they could do 16 units on this piece of property the way it is right now. And, you know, so that's the way it is now. Obviously, it wants to be more intense than that. I think I would take issue with the staff analysis of the modest increase in density. You know, it's like, well, right now it's good for 16 units. It's like, would 100% be modest? 32 units. There you go. But we're calling for 71 here. That's a bunch. You know, they're comparing the way it's zoned right now, R40 in a neighborhood maintenance policy area. I mean, I'm not sure if that means anything or not, but it should mean something. 71 units seems a little much here, but, you know, they're comparing, they're acting in the planning analysis as if it's already zoned RM4 or RM6 when it's not. It's, you know, R40, neighborhood maintenance. And, you know, good for 16, good for 16 the way it sits right now. You know, modest increase, maybe 30, 32, but 71 is just too much. And, you know, there's other concerns, but that's my biggest one. And ask that you disapprove the plan as currently constructed, and appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Come on up.
My name's Michael O'Brien. I've been in the neighborhood 25 years. I've been to all the previous meetings, and they must not have been the same meeting I've been to, because all the neighbors are against this except for the ones that are actually selling. 70, you're talking 8 pieces of property, and you're going to put 71 houses there? I'm in the middle here, and the runoff towards my property is going to be terrible. I'm sure you've seen this stuff going on in Gallatin and Goodlettsville with runoff. That's what's going to be happening to us. I'm not against the building, but 71 where 8 were before, that's just absurd. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing none, 2-minute rebuttal.
Thank you very much. So the densities in this development is really based upon the densities around it. The first two phases are similar in densities as this. The properties that abut this, I guess to the west are our zoning, they're all duplex houses. To the south is Cali, which is dense as well. So I think this fits in with the policy as far as the neighborhood maintenance is concerned. And we are transitioning again on Valley View to maintain the character of Valley View based upon the massing, the spacing of those homes there. There is enhanced stormwater. That's one of the things that came up through some of the community meetings. So there'll be an enhanced stormwater system, which will probably actually reduce runoff. And so I think staff did a good job doing on their analysis of this, and I would hope that you would just follow their lead and recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Lady, welcome.
Yes, so I was at 2 of the community meetings. They had several community meetings amongst themselves, which is what I encouraged them to do so that they could sort of work it out. The biggest concern that people that communicated to me was stormwater. They've had lots of flooding. They feel like they've had some negative impacts from a stormwater perspective from Cali, which is to the right of this picture, coming down. And so I think this development actually, when you add stormwater and all of their restrictions and getting those permits, I think there's actually going to be a great improvement in that area as far as stormwater is concerned. I think it's important to understand that all of these different parcels will be developed differently. There's only 1 out of the 8 parcels that are under contract right now, which is why there's so many points of access, because we don't know who's gonna buy and do what. And so I'm happy, I know points of access were a point of contingency with planning, and so I'm happy to say that if there's 2 or more parcels that are going to be developed at the same time, for that there to only be 1 access for that particular development. So if a developer comes in and buys 3 or 4 lots in a row, 1 access, or however the fire marshal would say, so if that would appease the commission and planning staff. But that really has been the issue. And we tried to communicate that this picture is the most that would actually be. This isn't all going to go up at the same time. Again, there's only 1 parcel right now that's under contract. And so it will likely be years, and there could be someone that would come in and just wants to put a big house there or wants to renovate what's existing there. And so I wanted to reiterate that to the folks that are concerned about the level of density. It is very similar to what's up at the north end of this road that faces, that's closer to Old Hickory Boulevard, and what's behind it, much more, not much more, but more dense, more density is in those properties than here. So it is conducive, and I think the developer's been really great about taking into account the community's concerns and making some adjustments. And so I hope that you approve. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Lady. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. Commissioner Clifton, you want to start us off?
Well, this is a fascinating presentation and a lot of very well stated points and points of view on both sides. Obviously, you know, when you think about it as a change from 8 to 71, that's a little overwhelming, and I get that. I think, however, in light of the rather specific and well laid out arguments from the presenters and the professionals who have been working on this, we realized that, I think this commission realizes that the move toward more density is never going to be really popular with everyone. From a planning standpoint, as opposed to a political, our role is to look at the planning aspects of it. I think those have been well laid out. I'm fully supportive of the staff recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other discussion? Vice Chair?
So I guess what the council lady just said gave me some pause because it makes it hard to think about the conditions that we've imposed. So I fully support the staff's recommendation to reduce curb cuts, but that doesn't necessarily sound like it's feasible based on what was just said. But so that's one thing. And then I also wonder if it's not redeveloped at this scale, can the stormwater improvements that are needed to prevent what sounds like some serious issues that's happened in the surrounding neighborhood, can those stormwater issues be addressed on a parcel by parcel basis? Or does that need to be done altogether so that the surrounding neighborhood doesn't have the same problem?
Sure. So two things. Recognizing that this may come in phases, which is not unusual for SPs, what we as staff then do is if the first phase comes in, depending on where it is, we would have that phase set up cross-access for future phases to utilize. And so so we're still coordinating access, even if it's done sort of piece by piece. It just takes a little bit more forward thinking about, and you might be constraining a future phase, but that's sort of just the name of the game. So if one comes in, it may have one access onto Valley View and then set up, depending on where it is, cross accesses to both sides. And so that way, then the next one that comes in may not get an access on Valley View. It would only be accessed by the cross access easement. It's something that we have managed in the past on other SPs, as long as the conditions are clear about how many total. It just takes us sort of working through it at the final site plan phase. So that's not unusual with larger SPs particularly. In regards to the stormwater question, stormwater has reviewed holistically. If it comes in phases, which they are accustomed to, each phase will have to stand on its own in regards to stormwater. And of course, the stormwater standard is that you can't have more runoff post-development than pre-development. And in most cases, we see that that there are improvements. And so each one will have to stand on its own from a stormwater perspective.
Okay. I mean, I have very mixed feelings about this because I am sensitive to the neighborhood's concern that this, at least as presented here, which sounds to me like what the final development will not actually look like, because they're going to need to have some additional connectivity and stuff through the site, that this does feel like a lot when you look at it in the larger context of feeding up to Old Hickory. I agree with Commissioner Clifton that we do need to move towards density, and that's, this is very close to Old Hickory, so that makes sense. But I also know that this is a very traffic constrained area, and we have seen a lot of pretty large developments going in, and I can understand why the neighborhood is concerned about the impact on infrastructure. And it is a really challenging position for us to be in because of how we deal with infrastructure, where it's led by development. Like, ideally, this would have the infrastructure in place in advance so that we could address neighborhood concerns for what the overall development capacity would look like. Same with sidewalks. They're not going to get sidewalks all right away because it's going to have to come in as they build out this whole thing. So, I mean, it would be nice if the infrastructure could precede the development when you're going in with something of this size, because then we could speak confidently to addressing the concerns of the neighborhood. So that's my feeling.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other discussion? Council Liddy.
Thank you, Chair. And just to follow up to Commissioner Sparks' question about the stormwater, on the diagram here, it looks like there are about 11 stormwater retention ponds. So for each stage of development is required to address the stormwater for that phase. Is that what I'm seeing here?
Yeah, but you're not seeing ponds, you're seeing treatment areas.
Okay.
And so, biotreatment areas. And generally with a preliminary site plan, what stormwater is looking for is making sure that there is enough space in the correct locations to handle stormwater. The engineering hasn't been done yet. That will happen in the later phase of the final site plan. So at this phase, what stormwater is looking for is making sure that enough space in the right location is set aside. And stormwater has reviewed this and has said that, yes, it is meeting that preliminary review in regards to being able to handle the stormwater needs for the development.
And that would be done at each stage,
Yes,
each
with a final
parcel,
site plan, detailed construction documents would be required.
Okay, thank you. That answers that question. I tend to agree with Commissioner Clifton that while this does seem like a lot of density compared to what's across Valley View Road, I noticed that to the south and also it looks like to the west that the zoning is R10, which is 4 units per acre, about 4 units per acre. So this does fall in line with surrounding development, and it appears that it does meet the T3 neighborhood maintenance policy because of those surrounding developments that have similar density. So for that, I tend to agree with Commissioner Clifton that this does fit the policy, and as long as the stormwater needs are addressed with each stage of development, then it shouldn't impact the other surrounding neighborhoods. So, thank you.
Thank you, Council Lady. And I really appreciate the sidewalks. I live in South Nashville, and we're sidewalk poor down there. And so I really, when we talk about sidewalks in South Nashville, I get excited. I know it is a dense project, but the sidewalks are very exciting. Any other discussion? We'll need a motion. Is there a motion? Council Lady, you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve staff recommendation with conditions and disapprove without all conditions.
That's a proper motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And there's a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. All right, and it's approved. So that leads us to, Commissioners, I believe that we can get through. We only have one more item, which is item 30, and I believe that we can get through this without having to have a break. Commissioner Clifton, there is no food. We should go right through. So item 30.
No food for you.
Go ahead, Chairman.
All right. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jeremiah Kumi, presenting item number 30 on the agenda tonight. This is a request to rezone from agricultural residential AR2 to industrial restrictive zoning for a portion of property located at 3187 Franklin Limestone Road. And staff recommendation is to approve. The application consists of a 23.48 acre portion of a parcel located along Franklin Limestone Road, southwest of Mullins Circle. The portion of the property is currently vacant mineral processing land, while surrounding uses are vacant industrial land, office, warehouse, and residential single family. Surrounding properties are zoned SP, IR, IWD, AR2, RS5, RS15, and R40. The property is located within District Impact and Conservation Policy areas. District Impact Policy is intended to enhance and create areas that are dominated by one or more activities with the potential to have a significant adverse impact on the surrounding area, so that they are strategically located and thoughtfully designed to serve the overall community or region, but not at the expense of the immediate neighbors. Conservation is intended to preserve environmentally sensitive land features through protection and remediation. The guidance for preserving or enhancing these features varies with what transect they are in and whether or not they have already been disturbed. The application proposes to rezone the property from AR2A to industrial restrictive. The property is located within District Impact and Conservation Policy areas. The majority of the site is located in the District Impact area. The conservation policy on the site consists of floodway, floodplain, steep slopes, and streams that intersect the property. However, there is space outside of these areas upon which to develop upon which to develop on the subject property. The proposed industrial restrictive district is appropriate given the district impact policy, as it is intended for a wide range of light industrial uses at a small to moderate scale. Uses most suitable in industrial restrictive zoning areas operate within completely enclosed buildings with limited outdoor storage to minimize potential impacts on abutting properties. Potential impacts on abutting properties are minimized by the light industrial nature of the uses permitted in this district and high operational standards. Uses permitted by the district include, but are not limited to, automobile sales, distributive or businesses and wholesale, light manufacturing, warehouse, and recycling collection center. District impact policy supports uses that are even more impactful than allowed by industrial restrictive zoning district, including landfills, mineral extraction, correctional facilities, and hazardous industrial operations. Staff finds this zoning district is consistent with the district impact policy on the site and therefore recommends approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah. And we will open this item for public hearing, and is the applicant in the room? Is the applicant? Come on up. You've got 10 minutes, and you can save 2 of the 10 minutes for rebuttal. Welcome. State your name.
I'm William Tanner with Distribution Realty Group here in Nashville. We are a local company. We build warehouses. That is what we do. We've built a handful in Nashville and Murfreesboro, Spring Hill, and some other markets as well throughout the Southeast and Midwest. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to the staff for the report and the recommendation. And also want to thank Councilman Benton, who for speaking earlier, even though he had to leave. I want to first start by acknowledging the councilman's comments and the community's concerns about traffic. We understand that Franklin Limestone Road headed north is not the best road, and we appreciate that this has led to the councilman having conversations with NDOT in regards to the road. Part of our initial understanding of this site and of our proposed plan would be to not allow any truck traffic headed north towards Murfreesboro Pike and had it all head out towards Haywood Lane, Antioch Pike area due to those conditions. Also want to note that with our plan, it essentially prevents the quarry, who, as of right now, Vulcan can by right mine this area, and it prevents them from continuing, I guess, their march of mining. I want to make sure we leave 2 minutes for rebuttal, and I also want to hand it over to Brendan Bowles with Kimley Horn, and want to thank you all again.
Welcome. Just state your name.
Yes, sir. Brendan Bowles with Kimley Horn here in Nashville. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you to the staff for the report here. Hopefully everybody got the letter as well from Councilman Benton in your packet this evening. We're committed to no trucks turning, left out of the site that would then travel back, that's south and then back north to Murfreesboro Pike. I think that's important not to have trucks go that direction. This is a straight rezoning request to IR. It's in full compliance with the community plan that's there today. We're committed to working with NDOT, doing a traffic study at the appropriate time. We got about 1,700 linear feet of frontage along Old Franklin Road. Certainly all of that will be improved, will be widened. We'll have adequate shoulders. We'll have sidewalks as required by the MCSP if NDOT, sees that fit. So we're not asking for any variances or any special conditions here, just asking for straight rezoning in compliance with the community policy to allow for a future development. And like William mentioned, this is part of it's 360 acres that the quarry owns. And this is, I think this request is for about 23 and a half acres that would not be allowed to be mined in the future, that we could hopefully build a nice facility here on this 23 acres. There is a stream on our eastern boundary that you saw, some of the conservation areas that are there. All the stream buffers will be honored, will be maintained. We'll meet all the stormwater requirements as development goes forward. We have done a little bit of due diligence on the site as far as streams and wetlands, didn't find anything within the area that we anticipate to develop. You also saw on the map, there's quite a bit of area that's outside of the conservation zones. Certainly that's the area we're going to focus for development. see here. Again, thank you to everybody working on this one. We look forward to a successful project. Again, no variances being asked for, just looking for a straight rezoning here in compliance with the community policy. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll reserve 2 minutes for rebuttal. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in support? None. This is our process. Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Come on up. And ma'am, you'll state your name and generally where you're from, and we appreciate you coming down.
Hi, my name is Grace Ann Bendel, and I live in the Highlands of Piccadilly. And in our homeowners association, there's approximately 700 families. And I attend every meeting, and nobody in our association received anything about the community meeting that our councilman had. So they don't know about this. Our property's back right up to Mullins. So like a quarter, they're there. So we're within 1,200 feet of where they want to build. And we haven't heard anything at all, besides getting a little postcard with no information on it. And we are very concerned. We're actually the most impacted. Mullins Circle is just one little street. We are, and so this to be approved, when we have any information on it, is just not right. Councilman Bennett, he came to our meeting recently, never mentioned anything about this. He just talked about something else. It was just news. And so we haven't even had a meeting on this. We'd like to. That's one thing. Another thing is I'm concerned because this is zoned agricultural, and we all are happy with that. We really do not want industrial without knowing anything about it, even if it's limited. I've tried to find out, is there going to be anything toxic on there? Because it's going to be so close to us. I have asthma, and do they plan on adding an entrance on Franklin Limestone, since they're going to widen the road and they're going to be so close? They're going to be right there at our subdivision where they're building, even though they get a route they're talking about off of Antioch Pike. That's not where they're going to be located. They're going to right now use it because that's it, if they get it, because there's an entrance there. But it would be like, why wouldn't you want a driveway in front of your house? Because that's how close it's going to be to Franklin Limestone, to our subdivision. We know nothing.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you coming down. Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Come on up. Welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity. I have to say I rather like Councilman Benton. We met him. He invited us to.
And state your name, man.
My name's Tana Miller. I live on Franklin Limestone Road, about 1/10 of a mile from proposed warehouse. We went to the meeting with Councilman Benton and met the guys here. I have to admit, I like all of them, but I'm opposed to the project for several reasons. Going back to the very beginning, I don't believe that the quarry actually owns the land. I think Mr. Benton explained to me that a private owner owns the land and the quarry leases it. And all of us, when we met with these gentlemen, we're talking about the problems with the road and the quarry and the road and the dust. And then I live closer than this lady. And at the end of the road where the quarry ends, there's an asphalt plant. And I spoke against that about 10 years ago, and they allowed them to move. They said, well, they're already here. They can come there. And so they're now abandoned, and we have huge clouds of dust. And the only things from keeping that cloud of dust to us is those trees, those very trees that they want to take down. And the argument that they're saying is that they're better than the quarry, and they're right. If we could trade them for the quarry, we would love to. If we could trade them for the asphalt plant, we would love to. And you guys talked about all kind of complex things downtown, and I'd like you to look at our situation like that. Franklin Limestone Road is treacherous. I sent you guys an email yesterday. I put a phone on my car and I drove. You'll be grabbing the table. The road is very narrow where it drops off. People lose their cars. There's a risk of head-on collision throughout the road. In my video, you'll see wreaths where the most recent person died. You'll see a vulture dragging an animal that just died off the roads. You'll see the bridge that's crumbling and all those things. Another thing is, as our friend here was talking about, he actually has 70 trucks, 200 employees, and it's those employees that would be turning on Franklin Limestone Road.
Appreciate you coming down. Anyone else? Come on up. Oh. We'll get to you, sir, promise. Okay, go ahead.
Evening. My name is Jason Miller. I live in District 18, actually, but I grew up in this area. I usually talk with you about housing and conservation, and today I'm speaking in opposition of this project. This is a street I grew up on. I have great concern over the continued existence of industrial uses in this area. It's a very low-income, working-class area, and we have to deal with these things all the time. Many parts of Nashville also have to deal with these issues. The proposed industrial development would harm one of the largest remaining forests in Antioch, a natural buffer that protects air quality and reduces respiratory diseases like asthma, things that most of our communities suffer from. Illnesses like asthma. Urban forests near industrial sites help lower pollution levels. That's a study that's been repeated across the United States. Our own Urban Forestry Council looked at that, and that's where I get the source. This would increase health risks for residents. We also know how vulnerable the Mill Creek watershed is to flash floods. I was there in 2010. We saw overturned cars. We saw all sorts of things. This site is in between a number of conservation areas. And yes, while most of the site is district impact, we know that quarry's most likely end is from seepage of water. We are not trading either the quarry continuing to mine in this area because they were willing to give away their rights for this property. That means it's low value to them. They're not going to develop here. It's high, the water table is likely high, and this area is probably not going to be developed except for maybe the very, very last. We'd like to keep it for what it is. It's an area that is conserving the wetlands. We hope that our community plan would recognize that. The vision document actually mentions how it is not in alignment with the district impact, and I disagree with the staff report based on the work that you all have done.
Appreciate it. Hold on, sir. We got another speaker. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Come on up. Ma'am, you've already spoken. I'm sorry. We're still in opposition. We're still in opposition. I'll make sure that everybody who wants to speak will speak. No, you're fine. You're fine. Thank you for coming. You're keeping me straight. I appreciate that. All right, go ahead.
Hey, good evening. My name is CJ Tishner. I live about a quarter mile from where this rezoning is going to happen. I'd like to just express a few concerns I have for this rezone. In its current state, Franklin Limestone has a lot of industrial use businesses there. And I've already seen a ton of issues that exist as is. A lot of these companies leave rocks, debris, dust was something else that mentioned. I know that this development might not be an issue or contribute to that, but it's just a concern that I have when they're building new plants in the area. Another concern that I have is traffic congestion. There are a lot of houses that have to use Franklin Limestone Road, including myself, to really get anywhere. I know that there was a mention that a lot of trucks wouldn't go towards Murfreesboro Pike, but a lot of people need to go towards Antioch Pike in order to get to the highway. And then last concern is honestly just on property values. I don't see how this would be a benefit for any of the residential people living around that area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Are we ready? In opposition? Ma'am, you can't go twice, unfortunately. You can get your friend to go. Come on up. Strict rules around here. Welcome.
How you doing? My name is George Baines, and I'm Grace Ann's husband. And she just had forgot to mention something in the area, and I think the gentleman might have touched bases. There's a endangered species, like it's a creek. It runs back behind our house, and it runs all the way around to where the property they're supposed to be doing work on, and it's an endangered species. So that would probably impact the creek, the Mill Creek, where the endangered species is. So we have concern about that also.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? I want to make sure we get everybody in opposition that would like to speak. All right, seeing none, 2-minute rebuttal.
Thank you. As far as the notices, the council member did notice the community meeting through the council office, so I'm not sure why those notices didn't make it to the first person there, but we certainly are welcome to have more conversations with the community, to speak with her individually after this meeting. I can leave my information for her if she has questions. We are not proposing anything toxic or hazardous materials on this site. This is really intended to be a spec industrial, light industrial warehouse facility. No plans to do any toxic materials. Ms. Miller was correct that the quarry does not own the land. They do have a lease. From what I know, it lasts for the next 100 years or something on the property. So they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And we certainly are not the quarry. We're not creating the dust. And we're going to leave a stream buffer along the property line to help mitigate some of that concerns that they had. We're only going to be developing land up on closer to Franklin Limestone Road. Again, the stream buffer will be maintained throughout construction. If there's any endangered species or anything like that that gets flagged during our review, certainly we'll work with the correct agencies to handle that. We do not plan to cross the stream with a road or a culvert or any of those things. The stream is going to be protected. There will be access to Franklin Limestone Road that'll come out just across the street from where the asphalt plant is planned, which on your screen it says SP, IND there. That's the asphalt plant that they were referring to, which is on the other side of the road there. I think that's it. Appreciate y'all's time again, and hope that we can move this forward to the next step in the process and go along with staff's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, the council member, but I think Councilmember Benton has left. All right. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. Commissioner Smith, you want to start us off?
Thanks to staff for doing a good job. It seems like a pretty detailed report. I'm overall in favor of staff's recommendation. I hope the new owners and developers will take care of the land and try to limit their development to what is needed. So I do sympathize with several of the points brought up by the nearby residents. I hope that this will be a fairly low impact use of the zoning, and I think that's probably a good use for it. And I think that it does fit in the neighborhood, and kind of like Commissioner Clifton said earlier, from a planning standpoint, it does seem to make sense. So that said, I think I'm for it.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Commissioner Clifton, and then Commissioner Dunn after. Sorry.
I realize, that we are making a planning decision, and there's another avenue, another venue, which will make the final decision, and there will be another public hearing associated with that at the council level. This is an IR. It's a pretty broad. We know what they plan to do, and there's no reason to think they wouldn't. But they will have the authority and right to do other things besides a warehouse. I just point that out. It seems that there would be something to be said for making that more specific, if possible, more specifically required. I realize it's not everything we do has to be, with a lot of conditions and a lot of other things, it can be just a base zoning change. I'm thinking about this. It just, it's a big change, and I understand the real fear of what could happen. I don't think it's likely to happen. I don't know that there's anything, unless I'm wrong, I don't think if we take a position and do recommend approval and the council goes ahead, then a lot of things can happen to the property with 21 votes at the council level. Anyway, I'll listen to the rest. I'm thinking about it.
Commissioner Dundon?
Yeah, this one is challenging for me. It's sort of the classic case of industrial areas coming up against residential areas. And I think that's harder than having one residential area that just wants to go denser next to other residential areas. I'm concerned about the notice. I kind of wish the council person was here to talk about that. That's a large number of families it sounds like a organized homeowners association that may not have gotten notice. I don't know if the staff can talk to the notice situation. And I would like to hear about the conditions that, it sounds like we've heard that they're going to have a stream buffer, but is that required, or is that one of the conditions? And then I agree with Commissioner Clifton's point that we need to look at it from the perspective of what are we allowing, not what's being promised on the site, but what could happen based on that development. While I have full confidence that what the applicant is saying will happen, I just think that we need to think about it in terms of what we're authorizing.
Sure. So I can't speak to notices that our department wasn't involved with. I will tell you that 370 notices were sent for this rezoning. The requirement is that notices be sent to property owners within 1,000 feet. And that was met. Signs were also posted on the property in compliance with the requirements of the noticing. So for zone changes, noticing that is done at the planning commission level here is not required actually by the zoning code. It's required as a part of your rules and procedures. And so they did meet all of the standards as required by the rules and procedures. So that's 1,000 feet. I have the notice list. I was looking at it sort of to see how many people were noticed and all that, and all of it was done properly. There's two different types of notices. There's an early notice, which is the postcard, which is going to be very limited in information. It doesn't give a date. It's basically just saying, hey, something has been filed, and here's a website or a phone number where you can get more information. And then the notices that are actually sent with the information are then sent later when a date has been set. So that's noticing. Second, in regards to the uses, yes, any use of IR would be permitted as currently filed. This is not a type of zoning where we have a plan. This is a zoning where if this is approved and they came in for building permits, then they would be reviewed at building permit level by codes, stormwater, NDOT, the Department of Transportation, fire, all of the other agencies. Planning would not be involved in that review, but they would be reviewed against all of the standards of the adopted regulations, including stormwater, buffering, all of those sorts of things would be reviewed at that time. So this application is not for a specific use, it's for a specific district. IR is, as its name implies, industrial restrictive. It is not our broadest industrial district, which is industrial general, so it is more restricted than that. Did I answer all of your questions?
Yeah, are there any conditions, or this is simply a?
Generally, there will not be conditions on straight zonings such as this. It would just be required to meet any adopted laws or regulations at the time of building permit application.
Okay, thank you.
Council Liddy.
Thank you. This one also gives me a little concern, based on some of the comments that have already been stated. While this is a straight zone for IR, the policy is district impact, which allows landfills, mineral extractions, correctional facilities, hazardous industrial operations. And without having the SP where you do have those conditions and you do have a little bit more clarity on exactly what's going to be developed, it does kind of raise a little concern. I guess my question is, because the rock quarry is an SP, it looks like, what is that?
Most of the rock quarry is AR2A.
Okay, what is the SPIND?
So that is an SP that was for a asphalt plant.
Okay. So.
And that one is, I think, 12 or 15 years old. So it's an older SP, and the land use policies at the time of that SP were different.
Was the policy the same?
No, the land use policy was different at the time that SP was approved.
Was it less intense or more intense?
It was, from what I can tell, I think it was a residential policy, but it's not a residential policy any longer. So when the SP across the street was approved, staff recommended disapproval, but it's because the policy was residential at the time. And so the policies are different now.
Yeah, that raises a little concern because the policy is a lot more intense now. And so I'm wondering if there was any consideration by the applicant or any discussion with planning about a specific plan as opposed to the straight IR zoning.
Given that the policy is district impact, and district impact actually supports more intense uses or more intense zoning districts than IR, staff felt comfortable recommending approval in that we found that it was consistent with the policy.
Well, I'll continue to listen, but this one does kind of draw a little concern for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Council Lady. And then Commissioner Clifton and then Vice Chair. Commissioner Clifton?
Mine's just a small point, because to be fair, I should have mentioned this also. It's not something that the council member was required to have. I do want to make that clear. There are other hearings at the council, and there's this. So I didn't mean to imply that this was done with some kind of way to sneak something through. It's a big thing to ask people to get used to. And I just wanted to mention that as a former commissioner mentioned to all of us a few years ago, and he was exactly right then. It's nothing nefarious about not having a meeting in a neighborhood is a general rule. So just want to say that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Chair?
I think I second, third, fourth some of the concerns that have been said tonight. You know, I do recognize that this is district impact, and I understand the intent of district impact. But the thing that stands out to me is that it says that it's supposed to enhance and create areas that are dominated by one or more activities with the potential to have significant adverse impact on the surrounding area. So they are thoughtfully designed to serve the overall community or region, but not at the expense of the immediate neighbors. And to me, that means, you know, I understand that obviously the quarry is a big issue, and we're trying to consolidate all of these undesirable uses in one area. But I do feel like then it becomes even more important to make sure that we're not doing something at the expense of the immediate neighbors. And I just wonder, with a straight zone change, do we have the ability to really think through the potential adverse impact to the surrounding neighbors? So I think, has the council member filed a bill yet with this one?
No legislation has been filed.
I personally would feel better if we contemplated at least a deferral with this one, to think a little bit more about what the impact would be to some of the surrounding neighborhood, as mentioned by the residents, to make sure that a large neighborhood that appears very closely located is involved in those community meetings. This neighborhood obviously has to endure a lot, and I just want to make sure that if something else comes in, that it's done as thoughtfully as possible, plus recognizing the concerns that Commissioner Clifton has raised about the fact that, we're opening up a lot of different opportunities, even beyond what the applicant, if the applicant chose not to go forward with their plans.
And Vice Chair, that's a good point, and I think potentially for me, we always try to be, I feel strongly this commission loves to have neighbors meet with developers. We like to have a lot of thoughtful and transparent discussions. And so I feel the same way, and I think a deferral of maybe 2 meetings and recommend to the developer that they get with the neighbors and maybe a broader reach and try to talk to them and maybe potentially consider an SP or, as you've heard, the commissioners, because the wind is blowing and it doesn't seem to be blowing in the right direction. So that might be a good thing to do, is to work with the neighbors, and that's my 2 cents. So is that coming with a motion and maybe a 2-meeting deferral, Vice Chair, or what are you thinking?
I would be happy to make that motion, but I also don't want to take away if any of the commissioners want to say anything.
Yeah, is there any other discussion before we talk about that? Okay, seeing none, I think, Vice Chair, you can make
I will make a motion that we deferred this item for 2 meetings.
That's a proper motion. Is there a second? And a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of 2-meeting deferral, say aye. Ayes and no? Ayes have it. All right, so thanks everybody for coming down. We appreciate it. And so now, that concludes our public hearing portion of the agenda. Now we're on to other business. Historic. Commissioner Smith.
No major update, Chair.
All right. Commissioner Henley, Parks.
All right, great. We're close. I didn't want to mess up the microphone. I do want to take this time to thank Lucy, Joni, and Rochelle for attending our most recent Parks Board meeting, presenting on the Bellmead Highlands study that we had the opportunity to hear from some of the constituents in the community. Again, want to applaud the work that was done there. The board, myself, along with the other board members, were able to receive that document. I think it's important that those
Can we get... Yeah, we're still in the meeting, so if we could take the conversation out in the hallway. We appreciate you talking to the neighbors. Thank you.
No, I would just say I think it's important that our Parks Board receives a lot of that detailed information, a lot of the hard work that went into that study as a whole, providing that information in the way that it was done by planning. Obviously I live in this world and get to see a lot of the great work from planning often. A lot of compliments from the Parks Board about that document and how it was put together. All that said, the work there is not done. I will share that I, as well as you all, have been receiving emails about that, but also many of the Parks Board members and staff have. And so again, it's something that I think is extremely important to continue with that community. I know that NDOT has made themselves available and started to get engaged as well. So wanted to highlight that. And then while we did not have maybe the best of weather for it, just wanted to highlight that the Brookmead Park has reopened. It had been closed for many months, and it did reopen today. So just always like to highlight when we do have our park amenities return to the communities.
Thank you, Commissioner. Excellent work. Next is Executive Committee report. Vice Chair, I don't think we have anything to report. We appreciate the good attendance of the commissioners, and I know everybody's a volunteer, and we appreciate y'all being here, and it means a lot to us, especially the team. All right, so Director, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your service. 2 updates. As Commissioner Henley mentioned, And I just want to say thank you so much for serving on the Parks Board, because I think that's a really important role, and you're doing double duty. NDOT is beginning their process to analyze alternative access points on Highway 100. I do think there is maybe a sense that we were finished with that, but no, they were just beginning. So I've tried to reply all with some comments to let folks know that we're still in an analysis phase, and we'll keep working on that. I did also want to make you aware of legislation that has been introduced pertaining to the Historic Commission. And the legislation essentially recommends the staff of the Historic Zoning Commission be moved into the planning office to work with the staff of the Planning Commission. And as a department, I don't weigh in formally on the organization of government, and this is really about where the staff of one commission is situated. I will share with you that the impetus of some of this work is that we became aware last year of preemptive legislation at the state that would have done quite a bit of damage to our ability to regulate historic properties. And so those of us in development services who engage historic preservation have been working locally to try to better understand some of those dynamics, what those opportunities and threats are. And I will just simply say the legislation has been introduced, and our council body, who does weigh in on the organization of government, will be taking that up. If you have any questions or concerns, just please do let me know offline. But other than that, Chairman, I do just appreciate you and your colleagues.
Thank you, Director. I appreciate that report. Thank you for the update. We appreciate that. We appreciate your appreciation as stewards.
Y'all are all loved.
We're very appreciative tonight. All right, last thing. Council Lady, any legislative news?
Thank you, Chair. No legislative news, but I do want to thank and commend Greg Claxton and Director Kemp. They came to the council. We had a joint, special called actually, joint planning and zoning and transportation and infrastructure meeting this past Tuesday, and they came and gave a stellar presentation on the scope of the housing and infrastructure study, and gave information about the public engagement that will happen after the preliminary findings are shared with the Metro Council in March. They will have quite a few that are already scheduled, actually, quite a few public engagement sessions for people to review the preliminary findings and get a better understanding about zoning overall in the city. And so I just want to thank you all for coming. It was a good turnout. About 15 or more council members showed up, which is pretty good for a special call meeting on the off-council week, I will say. And it was great questions that were asked, and so just want to thank you all again for coming and appreciate the great work that you're doing. Thanks.
Excellent. All right. Well, that concludes our business. Seeing no other business, is there a motion to adjourn? We're adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.